coming to you live from the courtroom. I have to whisper because I'm hiding. I'm hiding in the jury deliberation room where the jurors are about to congregate. I'm hiding underneath the box. I can't believe it actually worked. I'm gonna send a few photos to the chief. Nice.
Good morning and welcome back to another episode. Welcome back to the trial of Big Boss. This is day 3, and we are blessed to have the jury back while they discuss the claims made by Prosecutor T.
I think that I had a very well thought out and beautifully executed argument.
Okay. Typically, the jury deliberates quietly and separately from the attorneys and the public. But the trial of Big Boss is a special case, and we figured why not have an open panel? We have with us Luffie Webster. I think it's correct in saying, yes, Luffie?
Oh, I was just going to say hello.
Hello, Luffie. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. And I hope you keep that same energy when it comes to deciding whether, my claims were right or not. Anyway, Luffie Webster is a fantastic content creator. I might say, their YouTube videos inspire me constantly. And they continue to not only release weekly videos, they also stream on YouTube. And they're just, I cannot begin to describe just kind of how much they are passionate and in love with this series. Luffy, am I missing anything else you'd want to add about kind of like your content creation?
No, that's perfect. That's exactly it.
Tom and I are grateful to have Luffy here, and as a jury member, I hope they keep, all of the details of this trial in mind and don't bring any of their bias into it, because there's been a choice number of YouTube videos that, while they're in my favor, I don't think I think they're going to be unbiased. Luffy, will you be unbiased in this trial?
I promise that I'll be as unbiased to the best of my ability.
That's perfect.
I believe them.
I believe them so much.
You can believe in me. You can put your trust in me to make a fair choice.
Tom, would you like to introduce our second lovely jury member?
Yes. Our second jury member is the lovely Johnny Flores Jr., the host of Metal Gear Resurrections, where they discuss Metal Gear and Metal Gear related activities such as Helldivers 2 with other fans of the series. Johnny, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing swell.
I would ask that Prosecutor T speak louder into the mic. I know you're nervous about today's trial, but I
thought I was speaking in a good volume.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and Johnny, before we continue, is there anything else you want to express about your content creation?
Oh, only that I'm just that crazy old guy that loves Metal Gear.
And may I say, a crazy old and friendly guy. Honestly, you are one of, I would say, the first person we met in this space. Very supportive and always involved, and we want to thank you for that too.
Thank you for letting me be part of this.
And I know that you will also judge Big Boss completely fairly with no past judgments or biases at all, right? Right?
That's correct.
Right.
I saw some choice tweets about loving Big Boss or kind of lusting over, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm...
I mean, you all saw that naked body, so...
keep the comments to yourself, please. Keep the comments to yourself, please.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like my fellow juror can be as unbiased.
The jury's already fighting. The jury. Oh no. Okay. Whew. You know what, T? Let's move on.
Okay.
So for this deliberation, we're going to be going into each claim one by one, and we're going to ask both of you for your thoughts. As always, please feel free to jump in. Please feel free to discuss with each other. We just want to hear your general thoughts, whether you think Big Boss was wrong, whether you think he had no fault in, for example, the lives of Chico and Sniper Wolf. We just kind of want to hear where you two are coming from, again, as the fair jury.
Yeah, if he has fault in Chico and Sniper Wolf.
Or doesn't.
Or has.
Thank you. I was gonna say it sounds like the defense may be leading us a little bit in a certain direction.
Okay, who is the attorney and who is the jury?
I am the
I'm sorry. I'm just very passionate about justice.
Oh, about justice. Okay. Yeah, okay. Again, feel free to express your thoughts. Feel free to converse with each other. And I think we're ready to begin.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, Jerry, are you ready?
Yes.
Ready as always.
Would you like to start, T, with your first claim?
Yes. Okay. So, for those who might have listened to the last episode, I brought up as my first piece of evidence a moment in Ground Zeroes where we captured audio of Big Boss and Huey conspiring to burn documents, hide Metal Gear, hide a nuke from a international regulations board. You know.
Mind you, it was Huey talking about him doing those actions, right?
Yeah, but who's the captain of the ship?
Oh, okay. So, Jerry, go ahead.
I have a question. I'm speaking about burning documents. I have a question for the defense, if I may.
Oh, please do.
If BB is innocent, then why does he have things to hide?
That is a very good question.
It sounds to me like maybe he's guilty. And it also sounds to me that he knows he's guilty. That's why he's burning documents. That's why he's hiding nukes. That's why he's hiding a Metal Gear.
Johnny,
guilty people have nothing to hide.
Johnny, it's your turn to speak up. Do you have anything to say?
I would say another point is that, on Mother Base, there is not a lot of storage. So I can see why you have to get rid of unwanted documents and, potential vehicles of mass destruction that have no space in the garage. You need space for new equipment, for newer people, newer paperwork.
So, Johnny, are you saying that burning the documents and hiding the nukes and the Metal Gear just happened to coincide with the UN inspection? Are you saying that's just a coincidence and they were just making more room for storage?
I would like to know what amount of work he was doing on his end, because from Kaz's end, there was no inspection on the docket.
Oh,
so
that is a great point.
You see, now we're getting into...
Let Johnny finish.
If we go back to the tapes, this is all handled by Huey, who at that time was in conversation with Skullface, who at that time was on the hunt for Zero and his people and anyone who was in relations to him, including Big Boss.
So are you saying that Big Boss is a victim in this?
He is, in a way, a victim of being in being in the same vicinity of Zero and in their war. Skullface was doing on his own agenda.
Those are excellent points, but I would argue to say that they did not know that Huey was talking with Skullface. They thought it was a real UN inspection, and they timed everything with BB going to go save Chico and Paz with the UN inspection. So they in all intents and purposes, they believed they were being inspected by the UN. So they were burning documents and hiding nukes and Metal Gears in preparation for that inspection, not in preparation for an invasion. It would be different if they knew Skullface was coming.
Yo, Luffy's going in.
I'm always ready. I'm always ready when it comes to Big Boss.
Very true. But I would say from Big Boss's point of view is that he's seen what governments are capable of, especially to those who were deemed their heroes at their time, only to turn into enemies.
May I interject?
That's a good point.
Can I interject with a hypothetical here? All right, Johnny. Hypothetically speaking, if you and I were in a car and we were both, I don't know, smuggling contraband, could be whatever, guns, drugs, whatever, highly illegal. What if I told you while we were both in the car, hey, Johnny, I called the cops on us, but don't worry. If they check the car and they don't find nothing, they're not going to suspect us of carrying the stuff. And you're technically the victim of this, but you're still guilty of it.
What'd you expect Johnny to do? Get out the car and walk?
How about not do it at all?
See, okay, these hypotheticals are unrealistic, okay? Unrealistic. I asked you, Attorney T, and the jury, does the UN, the countries on the UN, wouldn't they all have nukes themselves?
Yeah, but they're countries.
That
I
that makes it
believe
okay
that
then?
I believe that Mother Base and MSF didn't sign the agreement since the most of the world did know that they were nuclear equipped on the lowdown, on that lowdown, the down low. But they didn't go into agreement according to like what the UN was arguing about.
If I may say also, if I may say, if
Please.
there's anything any of us have learned from Metal Gear Solid, it's that nukes are bad. No one should have nukes. Just because other countries have nukes, two wrongs don't make a right. And just
Oh,
because other countries have nukes doesn't mean BB should have a nuke. Have you all ever seen this picture? I'm going to bring this up. I don't know if I can introduce evidence, but I'm going to. There's a picture of a man and a woman with a bow and arrow. The arrow is pointed at the woman. She's holding the front of the bow, and the man is holding the back of the arrow and the bow string, and is pulling it back. And the whole point of that picture is, oh, you're safe so long as I don't let go. I don't know about you, but I'm not comfortable being the metaphorical woman while BB points nukes at us.
so from that analogy, which thank you for bringing that up, are you saying that after this trial, we should try various countries under the United Nations for their use or possession of nuclear weapons?
That's an
What I'm
excellent idea.
saying is that if we've learned anything from Metal Gear Solid, is that everyone should be dismantling their nukes, not just BB. Every country should be dismantling their nukes.
Okay, so what we're accusing Big Boss of is something that other countries do themselves. Thank you, Luffy. Thank you for that point. It seems Big Boss is no different than any
You're
other.
not welcome. You're not welcome.
It seems Big Boss is no different than any other country on the planet. Thank you, Luffy. Great point.
Yes, and as we all know, every country that has ever existed have been acting incredibly justly. So
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Okay, so it seems like both sides kind of have varying points of view. It doesn't seem like a jury's going to come to a consensus on this one, so maybe we should move to the next point.
okay, you want to bring up the next point?
Sure. So, in Metal Gear Solid 5, you receive a tape called Doublethink. In this tape, for those who are not aware, it essentially expresses how Venom was created, essentially, right?
Pretty much.
And the whole plan of getting Big Boss away from the hospital and secluded while Venom acts as his
Decoy.
essentially decoy. Thank you, Attorney T. It is a conversation between Big Boss and Ocelot.
Yes.
Am I correct? Okay. So, both of you are aware of that tape. Both of you have heard that tape. What are your thoughts about Big Boss's, what would you say, Big Boss's part in that whole ploy?
I have one word to say: consent. Venom didn't consent to being used as his body double. So anything Venom does, he is forgiven. It all comes back to BB and Zero, but mostly BB.
Okay, Johnny.
Oh boy. All right, let's go. Let's kind of rewind the tape back a little bit. When it comes to V, Venom, the medic, he was actually used not just by Big Boss himself, but also by Zero. That was Zero's next plan. He scrapped the cloning project, thought it was a failure, went over to make a mental copy of Big Boss in the event that he would need body doubles, because at that time Skullface was basically tearing apart the world, trying to find anyone that was in connections to Cypher, and including going back to Fox days. So Venom was basically a failsafe for Big Boss in the event that they would need someone to basically be a copy out in the open and would be able to take the hit, to put pressure off the real Big Boss and kind of keep him in hiding. From the tapes itself, like the hospital itself is not like any regular hospital. It's a hospital that's on a land, I believe, that's not even part of that country itself. It's somewhat of like a military hospital and hiding not in plain sight, but it is part of, I think, part of Zero's organization where he kept Venom and Big Boss there. I think from other tapes we've heard Zero before I'm trying to remember, it was some kind of like nerve agent or virus he was attacked with by Skullface.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like before he was going to go into like basically vegetable mode, he gave a last visit to Big Boss to kind of basically tell him like, this is the plan, this is what we're going to do, and you're gonna have to like bear with it and go with my plan, because we're all being hunted currently by Skullface, who's just had enough of being anyone's puppet and just wants to take everything away from the world, including the English language.
Okay, so it also kind of sounds like to me what you're saying is that Big Boss kind of was forced to go along with this plan. Am
I
I
would
getting
s-
that?
I would say, yeah, I would say like not just forced, but kind of like led into it. Like this is what we're gonna have to do. This is the kind of like the life you're gonna have to live from now on. You're no longer gonna be John Doe, which that's not even that's not even a real name. You're just gonna have to be. You're the real big boss, but now we're gonna have other bosses claiming to be you, kind of bolster your legend, and take heat off of you. So it pretty much was like you're gonna have to write this out and go with it, and including his people, which Ocelot, who was actually still an agent of at the time. I wouldn't think they were called the Patriots yet, because that was kind of like put into place with Sigint and how he saw what happened with Skullface and Zero, knowing that everyone's gonna have to be under anonymity and no longer like be out in the open.
Mm.
Might
May
I?
I?
Oh yeah, go right
Oh, go
ahead,
ahead.
Luffy.
Oh, I had a rebuttal, but if you have something, go ahead.
Um,
A
we
rebuttal.
we might have a similar rebuttal.
Uh,
So this whole Venom thing that Zero started, I agree. It wasn't Big Boss's initial idea.
Oh, thank you. You can stop there.
However, he did go along with it. He became an accomplice at the very least. Then, are you going to look at me and say that it was Zero's plan to have Big Boss use human shields to escape a hospital? That Big Boss that was the plan that Big Boss and his friend came up with in cahoots. That wasn't Zero. That was all them.
Luffy?
no, that was pretty much it. I was just gonna say it meaner.
Gotcha.
I was gonna say,
Um,
poor Big Boss, forced to melt the brain of one of his most loyal soldiers and build him back up in his image. Poor Big Boss, he's such a victim in this. Poor Big Boss, he had to sacrifice the whole hospital of innocent doctors and nurses that their job is to save people. But oh man, poor Big Boss, he's such a victim. He had to sacrifice that hospital and get a bunch of innocent people killed.
That's so poetic.
What do you expect Big Boss to do in that situation? My man was half naked, okay? Butt cheeks in full display. What did you expect him to do in the hospital?
Butt cheeks on full display, that should get him the guilty verdict, just that alone. Put your butt away, BB.
I mean,
What-
it's not
And
the
if,
most normal
if
hospital
Zero,
you could think
here's
of.
the thing. If Zero was so hidden, because Zero already was so hidden and like untouchable, why didn't Zero just take BB in and have him be so hidden and untouchable like he was? Why did they have to go to a public hospital? They didn't have to go to a public hospital. Zero had the Patriot money, the Philosopher's Legacy. He absolutely could have set BB up with a private doctor in wherever he was hidden out, and nobody would have had to get him killed. It would have saved everyone.
Well,
Maybe Big Boss's insurance wouldn't cover it. I don't know.
the copay, the
He's a
deductible.
he's a
You
veteran.
know, that's fair. That's
Oh,
fair.
he's a veteran. This is so sad.
Oh.
He would have to be sent to Walter Reed, I believe.
Oh, this is taking a terrible turn.
You know what? Maybe he is a victim.
I mean,
Now I'm feeling
okay,
sorry for Big Boss for real.
for the hospital, yes, the patients were the innocent, but I find it really odd that like when the doctor was being strangled, he had a gun. I was like, why does this man have a gun? Was it because he was
Listen.
treating Big
Yeah, what
Boss
kind of
Venom?
hospital is
That
this?
doctor,
What is
that
this?
doctor was dedicated to being a doctor. That doctor was dedicated because he didn't even try to stop himself from being choked. He just accepted. He was like, "No, I must show Venom his new face."
I know. He
So that
held up
doctor's a
mirror.
special case.
Right?
That doctor's a special case. He was dedicated to his role.
Damn. Yeah, he held that mirror mad tight. That's a good point.
I mean,
What-
I think
I
in the
know that if
grand
I was showing someone in a mirror and somebody else came up behind me and started choking me out, the first thing I do is drop the mirror. So, mad respect to that
Right.
doctor. He's dedicated.
I mean, in the grand scheme, it definitely would make more sense that Zero should have just taken Big Boss to where like kind of like just hide him, not with him, but maybe somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, there's still a lot of answers,
I
a lot
mean-
of questions.
I
in the
mean, we
series.
do know that Zero later ends up using Big Boss's body in another way. Like this is the beginning of his
Well,
experiments with Big Boss's DNA.
yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
a failsafe of like going into the Patriots, where it just becomes like automated, and the next thing would be like to preserve his body.
Mm-hmm. So it's very apparent Zero had this fascination with, you know what I mean? It's beyond just like kind of putting him away and saving him. It's like, oh, how can we make you useful? I do also want to point out in that tape, I don't know if both of you caught it, but there was a brief moment in which Ocelot was speaking to Big Boss, and Ocelot begins explaining, like, you know, the medic and Venom and this whole kind of brainwashing. Did any of you catch a sigh, a moment of hesitation from Big Boss in that tape? Because there was one.
He was always the best man we had. But 9 years ago in that helicopter, he threw himself between you and the blast. And that
Was it when he was talking about Venom and how he's not really awake?
Talking about the Venom becoming like Big Boss's
Oh, his copy.
his copy. Did any of you notice that moment of where
No,
he just...
and
No.
I would say no. First of all, no. Second of all, I would say, does Big Boss sighing negate all of his crimes? Is that I'm going to go out and commit some crimes right now. When I get arrested, I'm just going to be like, sorry, and then maybe I'll get let go.
I mean, remorse does go, if you really mean it, it does go a long way.
Okay, so I'm gonna go get a nuke then, and I'm gonna threaten to nuke some people, and then I'm just gonna say, but I'm really sorry, and then we'll see how that goes.
Okay, first of all, Big Boss did not use plastic surgery. He didn't personally change Venom's face. He didn't personally do the brainwashing tactics. He didn't personally burn the documents, hide the metal. Like, what did Big Boss personally do?
He personally let over 30 people, yes, I counted, over 30 people die in that Cypress hospital.
What was he supposed to do? I asked you in his medical gown. Go ahead, Luffy. What was he supposed to do?
First of all, he personally did order the documents to be burned. He did order for Metal Gear Zeke to be sunk to the bottom of the ocean and for the nuke to be gotten rid of. He did order all these things. Maybe he didn't order Venom to be created, but he sure as heck profited from it.
But
He also have another player in the fold as well.
Plans.
Wait, what happened, Johnny?
We also have another player in the fold that also has, just as much guilt. And that's Revolver. How he had to basically retrain his brain to make him believe that the medic was the real Big Boss, which leads me to believe that he does have experience, probably not in also in psychology, but also like pharmacology that goes with it and psychotropic drugs. So I'm also led to believe that he also had a hand in molding the medic into Venom.
Johnny, you make a really good point, and the only thing I can ask about that is, so Ocelot trial when? Ocelot co-conspirator trial when?
I'd be scared to do that trial because I feel like we'd all wind up dead before the trial starts.
Yeah, because he's an agent of the Patriot all the way till almost till 4.
Yeah, basically. You're right, Johnny. You're right.
Forming
a
trial
around
that. Can we strike that from the record? I don't want to end up dead tonight.
Oh my god, no! I feel like forming a trial around Ocelot would be like, he's guilty and innocent. Is he?
Yeah. Also, the crazy part. The crazy part for the medic is that I think they chose him because psychologically he was the most easiest to possibly manipulate. From other tapes that he's been like, he was like the most, what's the word? Not cooperative. Loyal, yes. Loyal. He was the most like loyal during the MSF days, the Peace Walker days. He was like the most loyal soldier. So I'm to presume that since he was the medic for that mission for Ground Zeroes, that he may have been personally Big Boss's medic on his missions as well.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think too, with like how many years that they were in the hospital for, I mean, you had nothing but time to focus on, any and all tactics to change this person's personality. They had nothing but time and money to focus on that. But it wasn't...
They didn't have that much time, actually. Skullface was actually aware of their location. From the tape, they had to actually wake up the medic early So I don't know how long it would have been.
It wouldn't
Well,
have
they
been
had 9 years.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Yeah.
That's
How
plenty of
much more
time.
time
Yeah.
do they need?
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
feel
I
like.
don't know.
I feel like 9 years, especially too when you have someone who's comatose. I can imagine. I mean, even
Mm.
too, Big Boss was comatose the entirety, right? So like you had um 9 years
I don't.
physically. What happened, Johnny?
I don't know if he actually was comatose because if we're the beginning of that, he is actually he has all his movements, he has all his reflexes, and as Venom medic,
I think
he did
I
not.
think BB was comatose for almost 9
Mm,
years, and then he woke up some indeterminate time before Venom did, and then that's when they
Mm-hmm.
like got
yeah,
BB recovered, and then they woke up Venom because they were gonna get attacked.
Yeah, that's what I got
I
out
think
of it
that's the
too.
timeline.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Especially with the tapes, it kind of makes it sound like he saw his face before and after, as well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I thank you both for these discussions. I stand firmly in my beliefs of this trial, but both of you bring great depth and critiques to this. So I appreciate two of you. Thank you very much.
I would like to introduce the
Thank
next
you.
piece.
Team's ready. Go ahead.
I want to introduce the next piece of evidence. The Big Boss monologue at the end of Metal Gear 2. Now, personally speaking, I don't know how you could defend this speech because this is literally a crazy dude going, "I'm crazy. I'm going to blow up the world." Discuss. Go ahead.
Big Boss's speech at the end of Metal Gear 2 really solidified that he is the villain in his own story. And we
Mm.
even see echoes of the Metal Gear 2 speech, because I know that some people aren't as familiar with the Metal Gear 2 speech just because it's such an old game. But when we meet Sniper Wolf in MGS1, you can absolutely see what BB's talking about in real time. So BB purposefully, he admits to this, I'm just paraphrasing from him. He purposefully orphans kids, kidnaps them, and then trains them to work in his armies. And Sniper Wolf was found when she was young in a war-torn area with her parents dead, and then BB took her in, trained her to be a sniper, and then she worked for him. So I think you can just, it's cut and dry. MG2, that's the most damning evidence for BB.
Mm-hmm. I think you get like a really good sense on how much of like a cult of personality it is from Sniper Wolf because like you really get the sense that she idolized him
Mm-hmm.
and she
Yeah.
legit saw him as a hero. Where if she was just a little bit older and a little bit wiser, she would know that he was probably the reason why she didn't have a family anymore.
Yep.
Johnny, any thoughts?
I mean, let's just go out through the whole thing of it all. It's like it seems to be all cyclical. I think every single iteration, other than the twins, they always have this thing where they find someone young, impressionable, and they take them in and kind of show them what their world looks like and how, and then kind of indoctrinate them into their beliefs. For Big Boss, I think he tried to forego it with David, but like training in between when Big Boss was head of Foxhound and kind of like overseeing David's training, I think he tried to redo it all over again. But by then, David's older. He didn't feel that he was that he needed Big Boss.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why at the end of like Metal Gear 2, where it's like he kind of lashes back out at him. Like obviously it's retconned that he's his father later on, but at that time, you can still see it. Like even if you didn't know, you kind of get like some kind of like impression that he tries to like instill onto David, like as someone's senior to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he lashed out at him saying like, I'm nothing like you. Like this is not what I want. I do not want a never-ending war. It's just constant death and murder. And Big Boss is just from naked to basically to end of Metal Gear 2. It just you were the hero and you stuck around very possibly too long.
Yeah.
To become the villain of basically the world, and so now the world's gonna come crashing down on you.
No, and I think too, again, like I can't sit here and say my client is not a bad man. I can't say that he has not harmed people, but I do think there is something to say about like kind of like the generational trauma, or like kind of like what you were pointing to, Johnny, like the cyclical nature of like what he
Mhm.
went through. You know, we think about like we don't know much about his background, but we do know he went into the military younger than
Mhm.
he was supposed to. And the entirety of his life was war, was the military. To your point, Johnny, he was a hero, um to, you know, in history he was a hero to his government, but at what cost? And it's like you spend your life doing maybe not even what you think what's right, but doing what you know, and you
Mhm.
see someone who did the same and was killed for it. Like, so I feel like for Big Boss at this point, um yes, he's hurt people, and he, you know, he did not make the best choices, but I think it's also a matter of like he didn't know anything else.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
It was. Go ahead, Johnny. Sorry.
I mean, even go back to like the game that like not too many people like, and that's Metal Gear Solid 4. We see Old Snake going to what he believes is Big Boss's grave over at Arlington Cemetery, and I believe that's actually the boss's grave instead. I think he was gonna basically redo it and kind of like almost like a cycle of death and just end it his way. And it's like here's another hero, kind of going out before it's too late. Before he maybe because by then he was going to be like, if I live long enough, I will become the actual villain because my body will just infect whoever after I die.
And I think too at that point he was a villain in the in the world. Like, wasn't he essentially
Oh
like,
Yeah, he was seen as like a
yeah,
terrorist.
you know?
the Patriots. Yeah, they branded them as basically terrorists. Yeah.
So he started off as this like amazing soldier. He started off as this like really skilled, respected, and then it ended with him being labeled a terrorist. So it's I mean he
Um,
made different choices, Snake did, but
It's
like it's kind of it mirrors each.
it does mirror, but the difference between Snake and Big Boss is when it happened to Snake, he didn't necessarily fight back per se. It was more so still trying to fight the good fight, more or less. And when Big Boss got labeled as a terrorist, he was like, "Oh, I'm a terrorist. Fuck you," and just went nuts. I think that's the real difference.
if I could add something,
Of
Johnny, I
course.
think it's really, really interesting that you
Mm.
brought up the way that Snavid went to the grave in
Mhm.
MGS4 to end it all, because Fox die was going to mutate at some point and start infecting people indiscriminately. And I think that that's so a metaphor for what BB was, because BB, he wasn't infected with Fox die, but he was infected with some kind of darkness. And instead of stopping that from infecting the world or affecting other people, he embraced it. He leaned into it. And that's what we see in MG2. BB himself, he's a cult of personality, but he's a virus that is being spread across the land, you know, tearing apart families, absorbing children into his armies, and just spreading death. He's a war machine. He's spreading death. And Snavid, when he is faced with the future possibility of also spreading death, he says, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to end things before it gets to that point." And it brings up the question of, you know, why didn't BB? Not that I'm saying he should have ended it. No, that I'm saying metaphorically. Like this is a little
Wow,
dark. I'm not
oh,
saying he should
okay.
have done that. I'm
Jury
just saying, why
executioner.
didn't
Okay.
he take? I know, judge, jury, executioner. That's who I am. But why didn't he take the appropriate steps, not ending himself, uh, you know, to stop himself from spreading this darkness, this death across the land? Because Snavid obviously had that wherewithal to be like, no, I'm not going to spread death. I'm going to make a choice to stop that. So I think it's very telling that both men were in metaphorically similar situations and chose different paths, showing that BB could have chose a better path.
I think Big Boss just thought he was too big for therapy. He was like,
I
I don't,
agree.
I don't need to talk it out.
I agree.
I was gonna
I
say,
mean, John, no, please.
oh, I was gonna say, like, I think like around the time of like the Peace Walker events, there was a dark time where coming across the AI pods and basically an AI version of the boss. I feel like that was like a really dark time, kind of reoccurring back to him, like bringing back all the emotions from Snake Eater, bringing back, kind of making him relive him killing the boss like over and over in his mind. And I feel like possibly maybe Zero may have had a hand through proxy of Kaz to kind of keep him going, to keep this boss going, even after I feel like he may have like called it quits at around that time, if there was a minus a Kaz in that operation.
I just think Big Boss is guilty.
keep your ideas to yourself. I mean, I do want to say, like, I do want to point out, we all have, sadly, we're all humans. We've gone through terrible moments, terrible experiences, sometimes not at the fault of ourselves, just, by the choices of others. And I do, every human deserves empathy, deserves a chance to redeem themselves. I do want to point out, we all have expressed kind of how deeply traumatized Big Boss was for the entirety of his life. And I think, Johnny, to your point about like Peace Walker, you see how just, not only do we see how angry he is, but I even think that moment with the AI pod, I see like PTSD immediately from that moment of like removing, the memory pods, and then like it walking to the ocean. Like, I feel like you definitely get the impression like this man is suffering. So I want us to all think about you in your worst moment, the worst period of your life. Did you act the way you wanted to? Did you think and say the things you wanted to? I hope we can shed some empathy on this man. Not saying what he did was right. Not saying what he did was right. But what I'm saying is empathy can go a long way in rehabilitation and showing what America is known for. Kindness and strength and rehabilitation.
What America or what?
may I just interrupt one little thing?
What are you gonna ask her for?
Because I'm just a simple country lawyer. Now,
he's got to bust out the accent. It's that serious.
I just happened to Kay and I have been watching the Jersey Shore recently.
Okay.
I'm getting to something. Now, for those who are listening, or for those who are here and not aware, the Jersey Shore, a bunch of Guidos live in a house, chaos ensues. Anyway, there's a character in that show called Ron. Ron is a beast. He's a terrible human being.
Oh my god.
He's terrible. No, I'm sorry. At least I haven't seen the newest seasons. Maybe he's better, but as of right now, he's a terrible human being. And he does this confessional, and in it, he's like, I'm a terrible person. I do bad things, and I'm sad that I do bad things.
And he cries.
Now, I felt bad for him. I really did. But he still did a lot of fucked up shit, and I can't forgive him for that. And Big Boss is the same
Ron
way.
trial win. Ron trial win.
Ron trial.
Big Boss is the same way. I can feel bad for him and say fuck you at the same time.
Can the two of you commit to coming back for a Ron trial?
I will say the defense's words have moved me from before. They plucked on my cold, shriveled heart. And I will say that sounds like the big difference between Ron and Big Boss is that Big Boss eventually did realize that he was doing the wrong thing and like wanted to make an effort to try and do better with Snavit by telling Snavit to live his life and to stop fighting in MGS4. And it sounds like Ron just keeps repeating the cycle. And I'm sorry, Ron, I don't know who you are, but you can't just say I'm a bad person. You have to actually try to be a better person.
If I may, Luffy and Johnny, have you watched the Jersey Shore?
No, I haven't.
Back in the day, like everybody else, but
Okay.
Yeah.
I implore both of you, because since we're all adults now, like our frontal lobe has completely formed. I would say if you need some background, you need some good drama, go watch that. It is not only like a reminder of like 2011, like the past, but it is rough. It is rough. And Ronnie, this character, it is like seeing the fall Like you just see the fall of man. Like this man just. It's honestly it's sad to say a great character study, but he is the big boss, and honestly, it's a great comparison. But but Luffy.
So I rest my case. You see what I mean? You laughed at me when I brought up Jersey Shore. It's a great comparison.
But
oh my God, Jersey Shore.
To your point, Luffy, and thank you for bringing that up. Like, I mean, just like really, because at the end, like there is a moment of remorse. Again, Big Boss has done a lot of harm, but I think sometimes like it doesn't absolve you of all your crimes. It doesn't absolve you of what you've done, the pain you've caused. But I think there is something for like remorse and really kind of that genuine level of like, I fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, it took me 70, 80 years or so. Like, I know I've done wrong and my bad. You know, I mean.
I don't want to help the defense too much though, so I do have a rebuttal. One, now I'm just imagining all of the end of MGS4 as Big Boss's like camera moment, you know, when they're sitting alone in a room when they're getting their interview and he's like, listen, I've done some bad things in my life. But two, the remorse to me is not enough. You have to take action to show that you're trying to be a better person. And yes, Big Boss does say to Snavid, don't fight, you know, don't waste the rest of your life on fighting, you know, live your life. But Big Boss was aware that Snavid had Foxeye, a new strain of Foxeye in him that was going to kill him, and he went to speak with him anyway, which I know some people might see as noble, but I don't. I see it as him like wiggling out of actually taking responsibility for the atrocities that he's committed. Because if he actually felt remorse, if he actually wanted to make the world a better place, he would have called Snaven on the phone or Kodak or sent him a letter to explain these things to him and then actually use the rest of his life to make the world a better place. So what's up with that, Big Boss?
So Luffy, you're telling me if someone's wronged you, a text is okay? A text apology? Wouldn't you want someone to come to your face and be like, if I have COVID and I'm dying of COVID and somebody's like, hey, I want to apologize to you, but you have COVID, so can I call you? I would be like, yes. That's fine. I don't want to give you COVID. That is a good comparison.
Now, not to deviate too much from this conversation, but I also find it a little jarring when Snake is in that graveyard. I think it's safe to say he's going through it. He's in a really dark place.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Big Boss did not stop him from trying to end his life.
He didn't.
He waited.
Yes, he did.
Until he took the gun out of his mouth. And Big Boss just strolls in. He's like, yeah, that's good, you pussy. Don't do it.
He didn't say that.
Why didn't he stop him?
That is exactly what he said. I was there. I'm a witness. He said exactly that.
Okay, so you're expecting this traumatized man to come up to this suicidal man and like be his hero. Like Big Boss was probably like, oh, like Big was like, oh shit, let me.
I don't want none of that. Like, what do
you know what I mean? Run over and then like wrangle the gun from him.
He doesn't even have to go over.
He has CQC. Yes, go wrangle the gun out.
Imagine CQC.
That's the crazy part. He tried to CQC the master of CQC? What?
First off, I don't blame Big Boss in that moment because that's rough. Okay, I saw that scene while playing and had to close my eyes. That was a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's fair.
So I don't blame Big Boss. Go ahead, Johnny.
I got 2 points. Point one, what was plan B if he blew his brains out? And two, I'm trying to remember that scene. Didn't David there was only one bullet in the chamber. Did he literally load that gun within a split second, getting ready to basically fight Big Boss at the cemetery?
I think so.
Am I remembering that wrong?
No, I think that's right. Also, I'm really stuck on what was plan B.
Yeah, I was like, that's pure muscle memory. You're going through it, and you somehow still reload that weapon properly.
I can only imagine just Big Boss witnessing Snake actually going through with it, and just him going oh.
And then he's like, I fucking brought
Zero. And he brought Zero. And he brought Zero. So him and Zero.
I just think
I guess I'll roll Zero away.
He can't even talk to Zero. Yo, you saw that?
Zero has has no idea what's going on. He's like super vegetable man. And that's the crazy part. Like the only person that doesn't get blamed, out of all, everybody gets blamed. Dr. Clark gets blamed. Zero gets blamed for like tons of. Siget, who becomes like, was it Donald Anderson? Not Donald Anderson, right? Remember right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't it
Donald Anderson. Yeah.
Who like, yeah, goes on to like for ARPA and DARPA, and also like
Yeah.
kind of like forms the Patriots. It's like, oh yeah, we can't do anything with him because he's dead. No blame goes his way. I guess he was okay.
You know, that's true. We should start blaming Siget
Right.
more. He's the one who finished the Patriots AIs. So if Siget
Mhm.
didn't finish the Patriots AIs, we never would have had Patriots AIs. We never would have had SOP because Strangelove wasn't able to finish it for Zero. So it would have just been incomplete. So really, Siget should be blamed for like MGS2 and MGS4.
That is true.
Yes.
I kind of like to see a black man in STEM, you know, like a black man succeed. I think I'd like, you know what?
I'm just gonna let
You
it
know what?
slide.
I know that we
Just
just
gonna
said
let
that
this
we
guy
should blame Siget, but instantly forgiven.
You know what? Let him rock for a second. Let's hear him out. Well, that's a good, I actually never thought about that too. Yeah, Siget kind of just gets
Yeah,
like,
he just flew under the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what happened there?
that's. I mean, and he also kind of dies like unceremoniously. Like,
Yeah, he dies
Oh,
off
yeah.
camera.
He gets killed. He gets murdered by Ocelot, who's like,
Yeah.
oops, I think I went too overboard there, boss.
Oh my god,
I mean,
Ocelot.
at least
That
we
moment
see
is so dumb.
his body, right, and not freaking Kaz's body. I mean, I guess Kaz gets the worst unceremonious death.
Yeah.
He
I don't even see the
that's
body.
true, but I don't want to see Kaz die on screen. That's not in my heart. In my heart, he survived and he's still in Alaska teaching cadets. That's in my heart.
You know, yeah, we didn't see the body, so it might as well. He's good.
Maybe
Yeah,
he
he's
flew-
good.
Maybe he took a fake death pill at the precise moment.
Yeah, I like that. He took a fake
Nah.
death pill. He's good.
I see Ocelot just plugging him.
Damn.
But oh man,
In the
no.
books, I don't know if y'all have read the books, but in the books, Ocelot gasses him.
Holy
Oh.
fuck.
Yeah, he
Wow.
like gasses his whole house,
my
and that's how he dies.
God.
It's really awful.
I thought it was a bullet or something, or a strangulation.
No, it's worse.
Oh,
Wow. Oh, I'm gonna have to read that. That's
damn.
so. I
I
mean,
gotta read these things, damn it.
yeah, that's terrible. Damn it.
Yeah.
But
Holy
okay, no,
crap.
this has been fantastic. I love this. I forgot what even the claim was, but I think we can end with saying that Big Boss was remorseful.
I maybe, but no, I do not give him a pass.
If he could be remorseful, but is that enough? I say no.
Johnny, what say you?
I was gonna say, like, in 4, wasn't, like, the fact that his body or his DNA was, like, kind of like the key to everything involved in the Patriot system? And that's why he's
Yeah.
basically being kept alive. So, if he could have just, if he had the key, he could have just, like, turned it around and basically make the whole world better.
Yeah, but he was in coma mode then. He
Yeah,
couldn't have
that's
done
true.
it.
Yeah.
He's coma.
I think he awoke when everything was already done.
Oh,
Yeah, because that's
phone
what
was
Ocelot
failing.
was working for. Ocelot
shit,
was
you're
trying
right.
to wake up BB.
Again,
Yeah, 'cause
this
That's what
man's
Ocelot died for, and
Yeah.
then BB turned around and died 10 minutes later.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
This
basically you
man's-
needed him out. In order to get out, you had to, like, dismantle the system. Yep, I forgot.
this man's body being used his entire life, his mind, his body, his soul. Like, when will it end? When will this man rest? I don't think he's ever rested a day in his life.
I mean, that's on him.
I mean,
I
he's rested in
The
pieces
comas.
now. He's resting in hell now.
Yeah, he had a 9-hour
Coma's-
nap.
coma's
a
a rest.
9-year nap.
Yeah, he had a 9-year. He had
There's,
two.
like,
He had multiple
like,
comas.
multiple.
He's got plenty
Yeah.
of rest. Every time he wakes up, that's the problem. Put him back into a coma.
in that medically induced coma in 4
So, but,
or before 4.
So he's been put into comas against his own wishes, against his.
Wasn't it
What?
after the events of Metal Gear 2 he was, like, basically put on ice from then on
I believe
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
when they recovered his body? Yeah.
I mean, because he
So
was
from
mad
2
with the can of
Metal
spray.
Gear 2
Yeah.
all the way. Oh my god. I know.
You know, so like this man has yet to see a moment of rest. I don't know. I think it's this man seems like he's been at the mercy of everybody else but his own choices. That's the impression I'm getting. Shall we move on?
Okay. Yeah. Would you like
I'm
to
ready.
bring in the next piece of evidence?
Okay. Jury, are you still good to go? Just want to make sure, you still have... You're good?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
Good,
thank
good.
you.
Okay. No, of course. Thank you. Let's move on to character witnesses. We have 4 that we spoke of in the last episode. So first character witness is the life of Chico. Chico is still alive.
No.
So we don't know where Chico is.
He's at the bottom of the ocean is
We
where
don't
Chico
know
is.
where Chico is, but we
Are,
do
are
know
we
that
doing Chico like COD style where we don't have a body, so
that,
he's
I
off
mean,
living his best life? Chico went to the farm. Chico's on a farm. We sent Chico to the farm.
we didn't see the body, so we don't know where Chico is. What we do know for sure is that Big Boss played a very influential person in Chico's life. Chico was very angry at a young age, almost similar to Big Boss, joined the military, like revolutionary forces, right? In order to fight for his country, essentially, his people. And Big Boss was really someone who was like, if you're going to do this, here's the reality of the situation. So he gave Chico a lot of autonomy, especially in, what Chico... Autonomy. He gave, Chico had a mission, and Big Boss saw that he had a mission, and, you weren't really going to persuade Chico any other way. So what was Big Boss to do? Am I right?
Okay. If you ran into a 12-year-old on the street with a gun and they told you, my dream is to rob that convenience store. I want to do it. I want to do it so bad.
What was Chico's dream?
To be a soldier?
For what reason?
Okay, I want to rob the convenience. I want to rob the convenience
Okay.
store to support my family.
See,
How about that?
The prosecution is being unreasonable. Jury, I ask you, what are your thoughts on Chico's life?
Chico has, I understand where the prosecution's coming from, and I want to support that, but I have to admit, I understand the tough situation that Chico is in. I don't think that he should have been in a situation where, oh god, sorry, I'm dropping stuff.
I'm leaving.
I was about to stop Luffy, but you know what? Go ahead. Keep going, Luffy.
Sorry.
No, you're
Chico
good.
is put in a really tough situation where he feels that he must fight in this revolutionary to keep his family safe, and I just don't think he should have been in that situation in the first place. I think that his sister Amanda maybe should have done more to keep him safer, or not burden him with the things that he was burdened with. But at the same time, how do you keep Chico from not experiencing what he experienced? They're in a tough situation. Chico's in a tough situation. It's either help his sister and fight to keep his family safe, or just watch people die. And that's not a situation any child should be in.
Well, I do sympathize with that, and Chico is in a tough situation. However, what Big Boss does to Chico is interesting, because when he initially meets Chico, Chico sold out his comrades, and he feels guilty about that, and he wishes he was dead. And then Big Boss does like this weird, fucking like almost ritual to induct Chico into his fold. And he does this shit where he shoots a picture of Chico, and he says some cryptic shit like, "You died here today, Chico." And that's crazy.
That was a really good impression.
Thank you.
So I do have something to say, but Johnny, I want to give you the floor as well. Like, what are your thoughts about Chico and his life?
I mean, for Chico, it's what can you say? He was put in an extremely tough situation, like fighting for liberation, freedom, but like that became like a family. It was part of the family. He felt extremely loyal to his sister. Like he couldn't let her feel, basically have the brunt of it all. What she was when being in charge, basically, or at least trying to be in charge. Always in doubt whether the soldiers were actually listening or not. To the point where coming across a man who I believe from his not only his perspective, but also in his life, like how at an impressionable age you can twist and make someone do, believe, and feel how you want them to feel. I from I believe, like from his background, it's been done to him. He knows how to manipulate people, and kind of brought Chico into the fold with him. What's crazy for Chico is that when he's learned of basically Paz's um, being held over at in Cuba, he kind of takes it on his own and ventures out on his own solo, failing but still doing it on his own, trying to find someone that he believed that he was in love with. That's just another story as well. But for Chico, it's just like, what the hell? Like, this kid had everything done to him, and he was still extremely loyal to the end.
And I mean, from what you're
Yeah,
saying, very strong-willed. Go ahead, Luffy.
Oh, yes, Chico is very strong-willed, but I do want to add that putting all of the hard things that he was faced with aside, if he hadn't had BB's influence in his life, he wouldn't have ended up in Camp Omega.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So BB's responsible for that.
I mean,
I think Camp Omega was basically I want not misinformation to see if Big Boss would come down.
Yeah, but that's still for Big Boss. Like, Chico was tortured to get a reaction out of Big Boss.
Oh yeah, because he was like in love with like Paz, and I think everyone knew that, and Skullface kind of played with it, leaking information of Paz's location, and Chico just like, what's he gonna do? Obviously, we all know he's gonna go there. Even Big Boss knew it in the tapes. He's like, oh fuck, he's gonna go down there and basically try to save her, and most likely get himself killed or captured.
I thought Chico and Paz were both kidnapped by Skullface.
Yeah,
but either way,
they were. But I think Chico was able to get out. I think they were actually able to get him out, and he was recovering in Havana at the time.
No, are we talking about Ground Zeroes? Because Chico and Paz were captured by Skullface, and then BB saved Chico from Camp Omega, and then he went to a farm after the helicopter crashed.
Yeah, I'm not. Do you remember T?
To my memory, Paz was brought up by fishermen, and then the fishermen brought him into Cuba, and then Paz was put into Camp Omega. Then Chico heard that, snuck off of MSF, went through Havana, and then got captured.
Okay.
I think.
Oh well, then that's my bad.
No.
That's right.
I think the claim
it's easy to miss. Like, you gotta like re-listen to the tapes over and over and over and over.
Future Tom real quick.
No, Tom can do a future Tom just to see.
All right, so we were all a little close, but what happened was, according to briefing tape 5, Chico vanishes. Chico took a resupply vessel heading towards Havana, but along the way, this vessel stopped at Santiago de Cuba, which was a short distance away from Camp Omega. Chico did this after hearing that Paz vanished. So he hopped on this cruise vessel under the guise of like, oh, I want to go to Havana and check out the city. And what he actually did was try to rescue Paz. And obviously he got captured because he's on the farm now. But that's about it. All right. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
But I think at the bare minimum, they both were captured. They both needed to be rescued. We could all agree on that. Like, and I think what we can also agree on is that Chico was going to do what Chico wanted. Like, it's very apparent, like we're all kind of saying, Chico really had, he initially came in for the love of his people, for the love of his sister, his country, and then separately later, the love of, even if it's like a romantic love or just like a comrade love with Paz, like it just very much like wanting of his own accord to go save Paz. And I think if we can go back a little bit to like Big Boss, or like what T likes to say, Big Boss's ritual, I think think Big Boss was like, if you're gonna be in this world, you need to understand what it's gonna take. I think Chico was gonna do. If Big Boss wasn't in the picture, Chico would have gone down this route. I think Big Boss was trying to prepare him for what's to come.
Oh, that's such
But
a tough perspective.
But is that right, though?
It's not right, but it's either you protect this young child and make him strong and make him realize the reality of war, or you don't, try to shield him, and then he thinks shit is sweet and he goes out anyway and dies.
Well, I'm not saying you shield him.
Is Big Boss really protecting Chico by exposing him to more war, though? That doesn't seem like it's something you do to protect someone.
But Chico was going to be a part of it anyway.
I can see it. I can see the point. I just have a tough I have a tough time accepting child soldiers. Like at the end of the day, he's a child soldier.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's too much to ask of Big Boss to like have something set up to have Chico live in like a hotel in a neighboring country while everything else is going on. Like if the whole world was fighting, that'd be one thing. But like there's other neighboring countries where Chico could have gone.
I was thinking they even could have asked maybe Galvez if he could sponsor Chico too, because I know that they were really hard up on money in Peace Walker, so I don't know if they could have sponsored Chico to stay somewhere else. I don't think they had the funds for that. But you could even ask Galvez and be like, hey, can Chico go with Paz to school? Because that was Paz's cover story. That she's in school. And see if Galvez would help out as part of the arrangement of helping them with Paz. Be like, hey, this is something we'd like to tack on to our arrangement. Can you also sponsor Chico?
I mean, I hear you. I hear you all. That fair. I mean, I think, you know, to what we mentioned a few moments ago, like Big Boss, like he didn't know how to raise anybody. He didn't know what was out there. So like he was like for him to imagine something as simple as like securing someone away from war, putting them up and having them have a good life. He didn't. I don't think that was something that he was even capable of. He was like, I see the strong-willed young child man, and and I'm like, let me support him in something that he's probably already gonna do. But I will say, I hear your points about, you know, they could have sent Chico away to school. That, you know,
I hear your points too, though. You're making a really good point, because BB, stop swaying me. BB would also, I mean, BB started at the minimum. He was in a military situation when he was 15, minimum. He might have even been younger, but he started when he was 15 at least. And Chico, you know, he would have seen the same thing with Chico. Like, he already had that example of like, hey, it's okay if young children, teenagers are sent to war, because I was. So I can see that argument too.
And I think about, what is that school that's in upstate New York? It's like a boarding school, and it kind of trains you to go into the military right after.
Oh, the military academy?
Oh, West Point.
Yeah.
West Point, thank you. I mean, like, it's I mean, just a general thought, like, the countries prepare their young for military anyway sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I could see the point of Big Boss thinking, like, his rationale being, I'm fine.
Yeah.
If I'm fine, I'll raise Chico the way I was raised, and he'll be fine.
And Chico wants it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
the defense is even swaying the prosecutor now.
But
so that makes Chico the first for Big Boss trying to turn into like a surrogate son.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But may I add, all because you were abused.
Yeah.
Does not give you the right to push that when you get older.
Correct.
100%. 100%. I'm back in it. I'm back hating.
It doesn't give him the excuse. Now, maybe he legit just didn't know better. And I'll give him that. Maybe he just didn't know better. But it doesn't make it right.
Fair. You know what? This is something, an alternative to incarceration could be maybe a parenting skill course.
A parenting skill course.
That Big Boss can take. we can send him to,
I like that.
To some courses. Help him, learn what it means to be a mentor.
A healthy parent.
And a mentor.
Yeah.
But if
I think reform. You go ahead.
No, Luffy, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think reform would be the best for BB. I don't think being behind bars is gonna
Oh,
really do anything. I would love to
okay.
see him in like a Finland prison where they actually focus on reform.
Like mandated therapy. Like
Yes,
therapy is only useful if you want to engage in it. But I bet you,
yeah.
like, he'd come around to it.
Oh
I
God,
think
to
so.
be a fly on those walls.
I Oh, me too. I know. I think he would though, because BB does like to talk. That's like the big difference between him and Venom. Is BB is constantly talking, so I feel like talk therapy could help him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As opposed to like I feel like Snake has his vices and his I forgot the word for it, but like his therapy is like liquor and you know what I mean, seclusion. I feel like you'd have to
Yeah.
pull his teeth to go to therapy, but I agree if you live with
Yes.
Big Boss would be maybe willing. Um may we move on to the character of Sniper Wolf?
Yes.
Do you want to go ahead, T? I saw you
Well, I think Sniper Wolf is what Chico would have eventually have become if he wasn't Bones at the
at
bottom
the farm?
if he wasn't at the farm. Right, yeah. Um, Sniper Wolf is the end result. Sniper Wolf was literally a child soldier under Big Boss that grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I feel the main reason why I chose Sniper Wolf as a character witness is because like you see Chico, which represented the beginning, and then you have Sniper Wolf, which represents the end.
Mm.
Oh, that's
And
good.
Sniper Wolf's story of her more or less being brainwashed.
Brainwashed.
Yes, brainwashed.
Yeah.
Continue.
She was brainwashed into believing that Big Boss was this hero and savior, where odds are he probably was the source of everything. And because of that, she ends up fighting in all these wars that she probably had no rhyme or reason to fight in. Dies in the middle of some field in Alaska somewhere. Why is she in Alaska? Like, she got no reason to be there. Case in point, she should have been happy in whatever part of the world she was. I know she's Kurdish and they're going through their own thing, but
Oh, their own thing, you say?
look, this discussion can go for a very long time. I'm just trying to brush over that whole mountain.
Oh, how convenient.
Not hide. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Okay. I'm just saying that Sniper Wolf would have lived a very different life, dare I say, normal life, if Big Boss didn't play a role.
I'm curious, Johnny. I'm curious to hear what you think about that.
Just for Sniper Wolf, this is how I feel. For Sniper Wolf, she was basically, from her experience, rescued by this man at a young age, kind of from what was going on at the time globally, and I think that played a factor to her loyalty to Big Boss. Having her life saved, maybe owing her life in service to him as as payment. That possibly, I don't know what kept her in Foxhound at that time after the events of like Big Boss being known globally as a war criminal, and after the events between the events of Zanzibar Land and Shadow Moses, like what kept her at Foxhound. I'm not sure. I don't even remember like how long she was there for, but I'm led to believe that she's one of the crucial members as well. Only thing I can think of is that like possibly being fed information by Ocelot on what's going on with Big Boss. And it's just like another person's like you got another person who's like at such a young, impressionable age, background of war, her mentality may have not been all there to like really understand what's going on, what she's being used for, and like she kind of became like what I feel like would have been like if Quiet kept staying around. would have been like this kind of thing, where
Mm-hmm.
loyal soldier, always having the back of the boss. That's what I felt with Sniper Wolf. Like I felt like she didn't really had a chance to like kind of come into her own.
I think it's really interesting that you point out that she was young and impressionable when she was taken in by BB, and I just want to zoom in on that. Like that is 100%. She was young and impressionable. I already said my piece about Sniper Wolf, which is that she's an exact example, like a literal example of what BB says that he does in Metal Gear 2. And
Mm.
yeah, I think, and the last thing I just want to say about Sniper Wolf 2 is that her story ends in death, like she dies. And that's so true of every single person who's related to BB. They die one way or another, either in battle or as a casualty. Something happens. So I would wonder to think what Sniper Wolf's life would have been like if she had gotten free of BB. Would she still be alive today? We don't know.
I mean, would she have been alive if BB didn't take her in? I mean, where was she found?
We don't know. We don't know.
We know that she was
Who knows
found
what would have happened?
on a battlefield where her friends and family were dead around her.
Oh,
But who caused that?
oh,
Who helped
Yeah.
cause that?
he could have just killed
Yes.
her.
Who's the war machine? Yeah, but he needs child soldiers for his army.
Well, I'm just gonna ignore the monologue from Metal Gear 2 for my benefit.
Okay.
What would you have him do if in the middle of the battlefield, if he would have been like, you know what, I'm gonna let you go, enjoy. Where would she have gone?
How about you take her to like some sort of refugee camp or something somewhere?
Yes.
I don't know. Like,
How about give her some actual help?
He got,
And like the prosecutor said, who was starting that war? Who was fanning the flames?
I
BB.
mean, BB got a zoo.
So maybe her whole family
BB's got a
would have
zoo.
survived.
BB he has a zoo, a school, maybe that place was better for her.
I
The
got
one
a
I could
petting
think
zoo,
of
kid.
is that which big boss, because we may have a tale of two big bosses, one starting the war and one recovering
Oh.
people after the events of that war.
You have
Johnny,
given me
that's a
another.
super good question.
This
You
is
have
like
given me
around
another
like
piece
yeah,
of ammo.
because that's
It
what I
was
always think
not
of, like
Big Boss. It was Venom.
like, you have all these proxies, you have all these like body doubles going around the globe, bolstering and fueling the legend of Big Boss. I imagine she met the real one
And
when
at
she
that
was
point,
rescued.
Big Boss had been dead at that point. So
May I say now? I don't have 100% proof.
So why are you bringing it in?
Because I think it's an interesting theory. Okay. I don't. Okay.
Wow.
Venom Snake.
Great lawyer.
When Venom Snake brought in children, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was to strictly re-educate them, and when they reached a point where they could be brought back into society, they would. Sniper Wolf was brought in and trained. And who has that as their MO? I'm just going to leave that there.
Exactly.
I'm just going to leave that there.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got something to say? Defense?
How about the next character? Moving on. We have. I think we could talk about them together. Maybe. We have Zero and Paz. I mean, Zero. At the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, we have Big Boss wheel out Zero and kind of point at him as the architect of all of this pain and suffering of war and whatnot. And we have one of Zero's loyal soldiers, Paz, also in the midst of the series. I personally feel like these two characters are kind of like the other side of like if Big Boss is one side of the coin, Zero is the other side. It's two people of course interpreting the boss as well a separate way. And you really just have this, I personally feel this big mastermind in Zero. Zero really created the twins. He created the twins. He created and he had his whole team.
Solidus.
And Solid.
Can't forget.
My boy.
Oh, we forgot him.
Can't forget him.
That's what he didn't want. Oh no, R.I.P. buddy. Oh no, they just threw him in the lake. Okay.
He was an Exxon.
Indeed. Oh man. Okay. It's all this.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just had to.
No. I feel that's all he wanted was to be remembered.
Yes,
Everyone forgets him.
they do.
Jeez, man. I mean, like we have Zero, who's this real big mastermind who really kind of, when he could have really joined and worked together, they could have been evil together, but they both had their own mindsets of what the boss wanted and what they felt was right. And while Zero kind of went in line with the government using, kind of the already existing power structures, Big Boss kind of rebelled against that to create his own kind of power structure. I'm curious to the two of you in regards to Zero and Paz and their kind of their choices, their life. Where do you think, what point do they play in Big Boss's story?
I would like to say it made me laugh when you said that they could have been evil together because they were just evil separately. They were both still evil. They just were like, no, I want to be evil my way. I think that I hear a lot of people be like, oh, BB wasn't evil. It was Zero. And I think that they're both evil, just in their own ways. Like Zero had his own thing going on, and BB had his own thing going on, and their paths crossed from time to time, but both are equally evil. Like Zero trial when? Like Zero should be on trial too.
That's true.
Damn, how many trials is that? We have Ocelot, Ron, Ocelot, Ron, and then Zero.
No, we're not doing Ocelot. We're not going to die if we do Ocelot.
Oh yeah,
You
so
have-
take it back.
You have to do a Rico
Ron and
case.
Zero.
Gonna bleep that out. Future Tom.
Yeah. We need like a Lolly-Lulelo equivalent for Ocelot.
I feel that Zero is equally as bad, or maybe I would even argue maybe potentially worse.
Go ahead.
Because I'm not excusing Big Boss at all. Big Boss represents a very real danger, but I feel like Big Boss's way of annihilating the world is through a sledgehammer, and Zero would go in with surgical instruments and end it without you even knowing.
Yeah.
And I feel like at least with Big Boss, it's honest. Like you're gonna see it coming.
My client is honest.
He's honest with his murder. I view Big Boss's motives to fight Zero almost in line with Solidus, where he is right in wanting to stop Zero, but the motives and his actions to get there doesn't excuse that end result. And you know that once he finally defeats Zero, if he defeats Zero, it's not going to be a better world. It's going to be something worse.
Yeah. I agree with all of that. I think that Zero is more evil than BB also, just because if we look at the reach that Zero has in MGS4, it's way beyond any reach that BB had ever even fathomed to have. I mean, it's wild how much Zero's reach extends. So yeah, I would say that Zero is more evil than BB also. Also, BB wasn't doing genetic experiments, which is pretty bad too. Like Zero gets into some really evil stuff.
I'm gonna make sure to clip that part.
No, don't you dare.
That is true. That is, when is Dr. Clark's man.
That's the trial to end all trials.
Yeah.
Oh
Dr.
my God.
Clark trial when.
Man. How Yeah, I would agree too. It's definitely, part of me feels like Zero's also like what was even worse about Zero's, I think Zero felt like he was right and like he knew better for society, and you know what I mean? Like as opposed to Big Boss, who kind of like wanted to rebel against society that had wronged him, that had hurt him. Zero was like, I'm smarter than the American public. I need to make sure I lead all of you. I need to make sure I know what's best for all of you. So I think that's also kind of that kind of character trait is really insidious and disgusting. Just trying to add that in there.
Super, super insidious, disgusting, and very dangerous. That's the only thing I would add. Is super dangerous.
Mm-hmm. So my client is honest. Thank you. I appreciate that. Honest, not as evil. Good to know.
Okay, you're gonna lead into that, huh? Okay.
Good to know.
All right.
And also too, and speaking of Paz, Paz's life was just, who can we blame for her death? She died.
Oh, so
okay.
we're
accepting. So she didn't go to the farm. So Paz isn't at the farm,
right?
Wait, what happened?
Yeah, we don't have Paz's body either. So I guess we did watch her blow up before our very eyes. I don't know if that's evidence enough. Our eyewitness testimony.
Gone. She is gone.
Listen, all I know is that there was a really bright light, and then she just wasn't here anymore, and I don't know what happened. So
You just dropped the flashbang.
I don't. Yeah, she did. It was a distraction. She's with the fishermen again. They picked her up again.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, "Again, you're in the ocean again." But I don't know who to. I guess we blame Skullface for Paz's death. Skullface is the one that killed Paz. Yeah. He's responsible. So I would love to blame BB for that, or even Zero, but I have to give the blame to Skullface.
And then BB went to rescue.
I guess
out of necessity
had his most prized medic to operate on her. They could
out of convenience. He just happened to be on the chopper.
Had his best friend operate.
Oh, they're best friends now.
Right.
Don't ask him what his name is, but had him operate. They could have just threw her out. Oh, bomb, threw her out the helicopter. They operated on her. And then, of her own accord, mind you, baby girl was a double agent. Did not, you know what I mean? Mind you, removed herself from the helicopter before the flashbang she threw. Okay? And out of respect for Big Boss, care, love, why not just blow up the helicopter?
How do we know that she did it for Big Boss? What if she did it for Chico?
Because Chico.
Do we know that for sure?
Do you know your point for sure?
Well, you have the burden of proof. T, you have the burden of proof.
I did not have this in my evidence.
I'm going to two-prong this.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Okay.
For Zero and Paz. All right, let's see. I'm going to go back to back. Okay, for Zero... Okay, the whole grand scheme of everything, this whole entire franchise and series, if Boss is, when I say Boss, the Boss, Joy, if she is Mother, then I would see both Zero and John as her metaphorical sons, them being brothers, constantly fighting between each other on who they believe is the true fighting for their interpretation of the Boss's will. For Zero, he went an entirely different path. For him, it was if he wants war, but war that's completely controlled down to the soldier itself. Seeing that he couldn't control John, he couldn't control him at all. Like after the events of Snake Eater, knowing that he can see it in his face, what's to come next? Like you cannot control this man. So what's the next thing? I'm going to get his DNA and make copies of him. See if I can control them. If that doesn't work, fail-safe is Solidus, who I'm going to, through the system of the Patriots system, put him in the highest seat, powerful, put him in the office of the most powerful office of the land. Mm-hmm. See if he can try to do that. But that even failed. Couldn't control him. Then it's like, okay, I'm going to make a mental copy as well of the medic and Venom. And then making Big Boss culpable and going with that plan as well. So for Zero, he had all the resources. He had the Philosopher's Legacy because of he had his own man on the ground as well, Adam, who nobody knew at the time. It's like that this person was actually working with him as well, always keeping himself in the shadow and kind of like keeping everything at bay to see like how it all plays out. But for Zero, like he tried everything and all possible to make copies of Big Boss for just complete control. To see like, oh, if I can get the same results of a copy, I will probably not need the actual original at that time. So if I'm to believe that, then it's like if he had an actual good copy of Big Boss, he probably would have taken him out as well at the end before he was taken out before Skullface, without realizing this. Basically, the man that was working for him had his own grand scheme of things because he was probably wondering himself, like, why is this man completely infatuated with this one person where we can actually take over the whole world? Like, the hell is wrong with you? Like, come on, man, let's go. But for and also like psychologically knowing Big Boss's like tendencies, he likes young girls and he likes young people to like kind of mold and like fit into his organization. So I want to believe that he also took that into consideration when he took in Paz as like basically his ear inside the organization.
And I just want to
And for
clarify,
her,
young people to
yeah,
mentor. To mentor. Just want to clarify. Thank you. Please continue.
and for Paz, it's just like she knew the game. She knew what was up. I don't think there was any kind of you know miscommunication or like misinterpretation of like what was going to go on when she became involved. But for her, it's like the worst ending I could think of.
Mm-hmm.
I would say one of the many worst endings for this whole entire series. But no, for her, it's like really, it was like not only traumatic, but like devastating to the point where like the medic, his like all his like walls are like crumbling because he cannot save Paz. He didn't.
Mm.
He wouldn't have thought like, oh yeah, there is a second bomb in her. Like, what? Nobody would probably think that. Nobody would think like there's multiple bombs inside one person.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also like kind of played into like the breaking downs of the barriers of for Venom, coming to the realization that he was also the medic at one point, and then just going all in and saying like, nope, I'm Big Boss too. Let's go.
May I
Yeah.
may I also say that when Venom figured that out, it broke him. It made him feel
Yeah.
terrible.
Mhm.
Probably at the same time as that, Big Boss was probably going on a joyride on his motorcycle, smoking cigars, not even thinking about it.
Do you know that for sure?
Probably. It probably happened.
I would
I
ask that you
mean, we
don't.
do see him on a motorcycle with a cigar, and he doesn't seem that broken up.
I would ask that we do not include the scene where Ocelot and Big Boss meet and Venom's in the car. I ask that we strike that from any mention in this episode, please. Please.
I feel like Paz was like a secondary option in that mission. I feel like for Ground Zero's Big Boss intent was to like obviously everybody was like you got to pull out Chico, and for Paz, that's up to you. And the real Big Boss, I think he would just find out what did you say and just ended her there. But I think because of possibly between the conversations of the medic on the way to the mission and his experience with Chico and Chico's um, love for Paz, I think he was going to give her like another chance possible, and that
So
kind of
you're saying Big Boss is open to discussion and changing his mind. Am I hearing that correct?
those events. Yes, you're hearing that right. But then those events made it worse,
You
and
can
from
stop
then on,
there.
I think Big Boss said, "No more talk."
I'm just gonna, reiterate that what you just said that Big Boss probably would have left pause or maybe just like you said, pulled out the information and let her rot, but he didn't. Maybe against his own wishes because of
Yeah.
the feelings and beliefs of
Um,
his fellow comrades.
Yeah, but
This sounds like a lot of speculation.
I
I am the attorney.
I want to reiterate. I just happen to know this off the top of my head.
Oh.
On in the beginning cutscene of Ground Zeroes, when Miller is saying that Paz is in Camp Omega, the first thing that comes out of Big Boss's mouth, and I for some reason I know this verbatim.
Oh.
He says, "So what's the plan?" silence her before we're compromised. What do you think he's gonna do?
Maybe he's gonna put his hand over her mouth
and silence her that way. It's nice, but he has to hold it there now for the rest of Paz's life. Just to hold his hand over her mouth.
His initial instinct is to literally sneak in there and plug her.
It was a joke, bro. It
was just a prank, bro.
It was a prank, bro.
Yeah, it's a prank. One thing I'll say again for the defense. I'm sorry, I have to.
Oh.
Ground Zeroes that we played through might not actually be the real Ground Zeroes.
Elaborate.
Oh, is it the VR?
So there's a theory, and it has weight to it. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up. Is that the Ground Zeroes that we played through was actually VR training for Venom? Because if you play through it, there's a voice line from Kaz where he says, "I can't believe we ever bought her cover story," talking about Paz. When Kaz never bought Paz's cover story, he knew the real story behind it. Like, he knew that she was a Cypher agent. So why would he say that when he told BB too? So BB knows that Kaz knows, and BB also knows. So it makes no sense for Kaz to say, "I can't believe we bought her cover story," when that's just false. It's just absolutely false. So Ground Zeroes might not even be the Ground Zeroes that actually happened.
Are Chico and Paz on the farm together?
Maybe.
They could be.
Now, I am also aware of this theory.
You're not welcome.
Outside of this courtroom, I actually I heavily believe that theory as well. But for the purposes of this court, I am leaving that out.
Oh, it could be. Well,
I support picking and choosing. I support picking and choosing.
Okay, but like, okay, we can agree that the events of Ground Zeroes happened. Maybe we don't know if the theory holds weight. We don't know the exact things that were said or the exact actions that were taken, but we know the end result anyway.
Yeah.
So.
And I would hazard to say it probably was similar to what we played through, just because Venom is obviously traumatized by what happened with Paz. And unless they were really messed up about that and they were like, "We're going to implant a memory where you couldn't save someone just to upset you," and which could be the case in his Ocelot, who knows? He could just be feeling like a little scamp that day and doing that. But I would hazard to say it's probably similar to what actually happened.
Yeah, I would agree too. I would agree. Beautiful, interesting takes. It's such a great feeling when you have a jury member that you were a little cautious of just suddenly switch sides and show their support for the. I'm gonna mute that moment, but so show support for the and it seems to like show empathy for my client, the defendant. So
you must be talking about Johnny.
I thank you, Luffie Webster, on YouTube.
No.
You can find them on Twitter.
Don't use my full name.
Oh man,
you're not welcome.
Oh man. But you know what? I say we should move on to one last remaining issue, or like a piece of evidence, and then I want to give the two of you the floor. In just a moment for anything we might have missed or any other maybe incriminating evidence that you might want to bring. But before I give you the floor, I did want to bring up one piece of evidence that T had brought up in the prior episode, and that is the issue of Oil 9. Now, we know Oil 9 was a major ploy in Metal Gear 2, a ploy of Big Boss, allegedly to control the world's oil supply and allegedly. So I'm curious if the two of you have any feelings about allegedly what Big Boss might have wanted to do in the events of Metal Gear 2. Thank you. You can also pass.
Oh no, I'm just having such a moment right now because you called it Oil 9. And this whole time I thought it was called Oil X.
Oh my god, me too.
Oil X?
The only one, thank God.
Is it Oil 9 or Oil X?
I thought it was called Oil X.
Oil 9, I thought it was Oil X, but Oil 9 would make sense.
Oh, I gotta...
Yeah.
Wait,
I don't know.
So that's
I'm sorry, I'm having an internal crisis.
So I think the jurors can't comment on this then. So we're gonna strike it from the record.
I always read it as
no,
Oil 9.
I have some. Oh
it
God,
could have been.
So embarrassing for me.
No, it could be embarrassing for me right now. Oh wow, I'm the fake fan. Let's
no,
see.
who's the fake fan? Who's going to
Who's
be
the
on
fake
trial as
fan?
the fake fan?
Wait.
I was gonna say,
The only
now
thing I
I'm
have
in
to
a
say.
crisis.
Oh.
Wait, what? Why are you gasping? How's it said?
Google says it's Oil X.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, because I only
So wait,
asked. 'Cause-
oil X or oil X? Because
So
I
it's spelled OILIX, and
Mhm.
it's apparently derived from oil and mix. So oil licks. Like it's
Oh, okay.
Oilix.
wow.
Okay, well then
Okay.
crisis averted.
Wow.
There we
So we're all wrong,
Yeah,
right?
That's okay.
Not just a fake fan over here. No.
we're all the fake fan.
I only ever read the text, and I always figured it was
Yeah.
oil 1X. I was like, oh, oil 9.
Yeah, I always saw a space between oil and the IX, so I assumed it was
Yeah.
like Roman numerals. That was just me,
Damn.
right?
No, that makes sense. Like
Then the font.
I have your notes pulled up while we're doing this, and
Yeah.
as soon as you said oil 9, it like changed the chemistry in my brain. I was like, oh my god.
I was
Oh,
afraid I was
man.
gonna have
Okay.
to re-edit an episode.
Johnny's like my whole life work.
God.
Right? That's
Wow.
the one advantage we have with modern video games is that the lines are voiced, so we know how to pronounce things. I was having like a Titus Titus flashback from
Oh
Final
my
Fantasy
God.
X.
Not that.
Titus sounds so much better.
It does. He's
Oh.
Titus to me. But the only thing I have to say about Oil Lakes is that Oil Lakes was going to solve the world's problem of because oil is a finite resource. We're going to run out of it. And as we all know, the US uses oil as a big excuse to invade other countries. So oil lakes not only would solve this finite resource problem, but it would also solve a lot of wars. It would prevent a lot of wars. And BB just stole it for himself. So we can blame every war that happens for oil after the oil lakes fiasco on BB.
But can I remind you that you just mentioned that America itself always invades other countries for oil. So
America on trial when?
But remember, it's essentially the United States versus Big Boss. So what claim do they have to even try Big Boss for this?
Well,
what?
let me just start by saying that the US is not a perfect country. However, it's not just the US that does these things. Other countries make plays. It just, the US happens to be the biggest country around that does this sort of thing. However,
go ahead.
Big Boss is not a country. He's one man. He's just one guy that was in a silly, goofy mood one day and took more or less a cure to the political drama that we go through in our daily lives and just took it away. And he was like, this is my ball and I'm going to go home. So how other countries react to that makes perfect sense.
Luffy?
I'm just going to say what I've said before, which is two wrongs don't make a right. And just because the U.S. steals oil doesn't mean that BB cannot be tried by the U.S. for stealing oil leaks.
Wow.
I agree.
Wow.
Thank you.
That doesn't seem fair to me. And isn't this a trial to
Weren't you just praising Luffy like a couple minutes ago?
Yeah.
Yes. Oil licks, I mean, I stand by my claim that the crimes for which Big Boss has been accused of are no different than what other countries may see in the United States itself. We are in the United States, it's our country. Some people say what we do is heroic for freedom. Other countries may vary in that same belief and response. So, who's to say?
I love how you worded that. That was beautiful.
Who's to say the same for Big Boss? To the United States, of course, Big Boss might look like this ultra villain, but to Chico, Sniper Wolf, is he not a hero?
I don't know. Let's go over and ask them. Oh, wait.
They're all at the farm.
Let's go go to the farming place.
It's just we
Can
just gotta
we-
find out that address to the farm, and we'll figure out
Yep.
how they feel any moment now.
Nope.
We've established that BB is a cult of personality. Is it fair to ask his cult members what kind of person their cult leader is? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I happen to agree with that sentiment. Thank you. Yes.
You're
I
welcome.
I want to pivot, and this is no pressure to Survivor T type on Twitter, but I'm just imagining the fan art of Chico and Paz like doing farm activities, just like somewhere. I think that is so adorable. And I'm gonna pivot away from the claims that you two made. So, very inconspicuous conversation shift.
Okay.
I don't think it's professional to disregard our comments and instead just daydream about farms.
Who is? I'm gonna ask the jury to keep rude comments to themselves. If you have anything to say in support of me, you may speak. Otherwise, I would say please mute your microphone. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll follow my mama's advice where if I don't have anything nice to say, I just won't say anything at all.
But I can see where the two of you are coming from, and I can understand. Oil X definitely was a potential for many countries to suffer, but again, it's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of, it's a matter of perspective, and I will end that there.
Now, can you share your perspective? You can't just say it's a matter of perspective. What is your perspective? Please explain how BB stealing oil was a good thing.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
I will not. Thank you, though. Thank you. I think, looking at the time, I think we're gonna move on. I want to give the two of you the floor. If you wanted to add any of your own personal, again, this is not the moment for you to like determine your verdict or whatnot, but like any of your own personal thoughts or anecdotes or other evidence you want to bring in onto why Big Boss is guilty or innocent of basically, I guess just being what T is saying, a terrible person and human being. The floor is yours to add anything further to the conversation.
I don't think we're here to convict BB of being a terrible person. I think we're here to convict him of being a war criminal.
Thank you.
I think the only thing I have to add is in the previous installment of the trial, day 2, the defense asked, when was the last time you heard Big Boss mention home? She went on to say this whole sob story about how Big Boss's home betrayed him, and so now he has the right to churn up other people's homes and spit them out too. And I just don't agree. Just because, again, 2 wrongs don't make a right, BV. Just because somebody else spit you out of your home doesn't mean you can just rip through other people's homes with your manufactured wars and churn them up and spit them out too. What happened to being the bigger person, BB? What happened to taking the high road?
Before I give Johnny the floor, I just want to say, how dare you? How dare you? That is all from me. Thank you, Luffy.
Of course. You're still not welcome, though.
Johnny, do you have anything to add yourself? Do you need a moment?
What can I say about Big Boss? For like going down at all, like the history and the character, like this is my perspective. He only did what he knew what to do, and that was basically from his experience, not really having a home himself, but going into the arms of the U.S. military, and then at a young age where you're extremely susceptible and being molded by basically the war machine of the United States, and being taken in by several mentors. One he just basically clung on to as mother, and just seeing like how when that played out, that you could be this country's greatest hero, um, that they can just discard you by any ways and means possible. And doing that, he probably
Preach.
said to himself, I'm never going to let that happen to me ever again, where I will be in control of my destiny from here on out. Um,
Preach, brother.
and
Preach.
I mean, also like another point is that like he just kept going with it and going with it and getting more power and more power, and I don't
Please stop.
think he actually thought that what was going to happen from those consequences. And from those consequences, we ended up rising. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. I know a victim through and through. It sounds like a victim.
Oh. Okay, a victim through and through.
Yes,
Okay.
poor BB. Poor BB. I feel so bad for him.
I can fix him.
I just want to say, I think, we're going to move into the verdict in just a second, but I want to first off thank the two of you so much for giving us your time, your perspective, for taking notes. Like, I thank you both for being the two best jurors anyone could ask for. While I might not agree with every claim, I will say it is they were very well thought out. They made sense, and I think Luffy mentioned earlier that maybe behind bars isn't the right place for BB, and I just want to end my statement there.
Mm-hmm.
So just I want to just bring that back out. That's what Luffy said. So
I stand by it.
T, do you have anything you want to share?
I just want to also thank the two lovely jurors that we have that agreed to be here today. I really like the roundtable discussion. I know that lawyers are not typically allowed in the juror discussion, but I did enjoy this process. And I always enjoy talking theories and lore and all that stuff with like-minded individuals, and I just want to say that this was really fun.
Yeah. I just want to say from my end, thank you so much for being such amazing hosts and making this decision so tough between whether or not to convict or not convict BB. I definitely came into this process thinking that he should be burned alive with a spray can and a lighter. And I'm ending this process maybe thinking maybe reform. Maybe reform would be better for BB. So thank you so much for being such gracious hosts. Thank you, Johnny, for being here too. It's been a blast talking with all three of you. I've had so much fun doing this. So thank you for including me.
Of course. Thank you.
I would also like to say thank you to everyone here and for our host. This has been a blast, and I'm bringing a spray can, a hairspray, and a lighter to MGS Con 2.
For who?
Yes.
For who?
Yes.
Every Big
For
Boss
all the BB cosplayers. Yes,
they're
for
all
all the
sweating
BB
right now.
cosplayers.
I'm coming for you, boys.
I thought you said you could change him. Why are you
That's what I was
giving
gonna
me
say.
the spray can?
Wait,
He can't hurt me anymore.
Someone sounds like Kaz right now.
Yeah.
Of course, we're gonna share the links to your socials, to your Twitters, YouTube, your podcast. Everybody, please check out Luffy Webster on YouTube, Luffy Webster on Twitter. Same goes with Johnny Flores Jr., also Metal Gear Res on Twitter. Their podcast, Metal Gear Resurrections. Please do go check them out. Again, thank you both so much. We're going to move now to the verdict. Are we all ready?
Oh, yeah. We're...
Yes.
Kay and I are going to remove our headphones. So.
Actually, no.
No?
That'll be for the next episode.
Oh my God.
So we're going to read the verdict for the next episode. So tune in next time to see what the jurors come up with. All right?
Amazing.
So thank you all, Luffy, Johnny, T. Thank you all very much. We'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much.